Hi all, I'm Trisha Peach, host of the Peach Buzz. I am very excited. It is our 30-year anniversary of Trish and Patty. I'd love it if you'd leave a comment down below if you've been one that have loved Trish and Patty over the years. I have traveled with Patty now for 30 years. Yes, I started with her when I was 4 years old. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 45 and I got Patty when I was 15. But I wanted a chance to talk about how I got Patty. I have a lot of puppets, but she is by far the most popular of the puppets I have. She's the one that I travel with the most. In fact, she's the one I was using this morning in kids' church. So where did Patty come from? Where did the idea for Patty come from? And if you're wondering who's Patty, if you're new to this channel, please remember to like and subscribe. But here's a link to So You Want to Be a Ventriloquist, where Patty helps me with teaching ventriloquism, and a link to our episode where she helps me tell a story. You'll get to see some ventriloquism there. I love ventriloquism, as a lot of people know. I think it's fantastic. I have been able to go into schools. I've been able to go different places in the world. I don't need a puppet stage. I don't need a sound system. I just go wherever I want to go. And Patty has crossed cultural barriers, language barriers. When I was in Swaziland, there was an interpreter. That was kind of funny because he's a big guy and he's doing little bitty girl voice. So I can't believe Patty and I have been traveling together this long. I don't know if you all knew this, but she has been traveling with me all different places in the world. She's been she's done ministry with me in South Africa and Swaziland. She's done ministry with me in Canada, 38 states in the United States, all over. Haven't had Hawaii yet. I'm ready, Lord. The Bahamas, that was really awesome and fun. So I love traveling with Patty. I had a very busy summer. We did a lot of VBSs and kids camps. And I bring other puppets too, but Patty is always the favorite. Why did I get Patty? Well, it starts back with I was 8 years old, praying at an altar at a Bible camp. I'll throw in a plug here for Assembly Park Bible Camp. My parents administrated the camp at that time, and while I was praying at that altar, I really felt like I was going to be traveling and doing kids ministry. And I thought all kids pastors used puppets and did ventriloquism. I found out later that is not the case, and that's a good thing. We all have different talents and gifts, but in my brain, that's just how it was, because all of them I saw at camp could juggle, could do illusions. So I decided, okay, I better get started. So I was making puppets out of my socks, which I'm sure my mother wasn't too happy about. I started trying, but I didn't know how to do ventriloquism. Well, when I was 14, I was starting to have some doubts, going, okay, God, did I really hear you? Because I have no one to teach me. My church did not have a lot of younger people. Had, like, I called it the sea of white hair, which isn't a bad thing. You had a lot of older people. We didn't have a lot of younger people, and we definitely did not have a children's pastor that could teach me. And I said, God, without someone to teach me, how am I going to do this? I hadn't told anybody I was feeling that way. I wasn't telling anybody that I was struggling with that. But we had a speaker that year, Chuck Pruitt, and he's one of the greats, one of the best for kids ministry. He was speaking that week at camp, and he knew nothing about anything that I had been struggling with. I used to, because I was up there all summer, I would go up to the children's pastors like a creepy little stalker, and I would offer to carry their luggage and set up whatever they needed if they'd teach me something. Like, just, if you'll teach me something, I'll help you set up whatever you need set up. Well, he was very gracious, and he talked to my parents, and then he talked to me, and he said, you've got a real call of God on your life. Don't you think you should get started on it? And I said, well, I want to, but I have no one to teach me. And he said, well, train this year and you're going with my team next summer. Now remember, I was only 14 at this point, but I still remember clear as day going back to my cabin and I just crashed down on my knees in that cabin and was like, okay, God, I hear you. I get it. I hear you. So he taught me some basics of ventriloquism and juggling and a few illusions. I never did get juggling. And Chuck Pruitt's a natural. He's a natural about everything he does, and I'm a klutz. So the juggling never happened real well, ever. I can juggle handkerchiefs, but I do like using a lot of object lessons and illusions. I think that's a great way to get your point across. I love doing that. But I took the ventriloquism very seriously. I started by recording myself and listening to it, recording myself and listening to it. I did it especially with Genesis chapter 1. Beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered above the waters. But the reason I know that so well is because I did that chapter over and over and over again. And then I'd listen to it, and I would start to get encouraged, and then I'd listen back and go, that doesn't sound right at all. I remember that, so you can see now. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. I practiced and practiced trying to make that work, and then I would practice in front of a mirror so that I could watch my facial expressions, and I was using my hand or a sock. Different voices. He taught me techniques on learning different voices. I actually got to briefly meet Liz Von Sagan, and it's just incredible. I sat in her class. She's an incredible ventriloquist, and I sat in her class. I think it was at a CPC class way back when, and I was just in awe. I was in awe of everything she did. Here I'm at this point 15. So when I was 15, I left home for quite a few weeks that summer, and I traveled with his team, and I learned so much. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's not that I didn't learn in college. I hope I did. I just finished my doctorate, but when I went to college for my children's pastor degree, I learned a lot, but experience, there's no substitute for experience. And we would get close to a camp, and one time he said, "We're close to this camp, and when we get there, you're gonna open with your puppet." And I said, "But I'm not very good yet. I'm not very good yet. I don't know what I'm going to say." And he said, "Well, you better figure it out fast, because we're going to be there in 7 minutes and you're going to look really dumb." But I am very grateful that I had the chance to work with him, and I learned so much that summer, and I came back just fired up for kids ministry. Right in the middle of that traveling, he could tell I was struggling because I couldn't get a character together. I couldn't get the voice to really match, and it was so frustrating for me. And he said, "I think you need a puppet." And I said, "Yeah, I know I need a puppet, but they're very expensive." I had saved up all my babysitting and lawn mowing money all summer. We were at Fellowship of Christian Magicians, which I think that year was in Indiana. It's hard to remember, 30 years ago. But Fellowship of Christian Magicians. I was just excited to be there, meet everybody. I couldn't wait to... I was looking at all the illusions, and all the money I had left was like $50. And I saw this really neat puppet at a lady's booth. She had 5 puppets there, 3 female and 2 male, that she had made. She was selling the puppets that she had made, and I really liked them a lot. But puppets with legs are even more expensive. And I can't remember exactly, but I know it was they were pretty pricey back then. $170 each, something like that. I had $50 left. I didn't have enough. And Chuck Pruitt he's negotiating with her, and I'm 15. I'm hearing this negotiation going on, and she's like, "Look, I gotta feed my kids," and he's like, "Come on, she's a kid. This is all the money she's got." And finally, she wore down and let me have the puppet for $50, and I know that was a huge sacrifice for her. I was able to contact her years later and tell her what that meant to me. She let a 15-year-old kid, buy a puppet for $50, which was worth a whole lot more than that. But what she didn't know was I was going to take that puppet camps all across the U.S. She's been on cable TV channels. She spoke to a room full of kids at schools in the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian. I hiked over high mountains and hills in Hawaii, in Swaziland, and we'd have a couple hundred kids that walked there barefoot, and they loved Patty. Absolutely loved Patty. She didn't know that her investment, her loaves and fishes, were going to have such a return for the kingdom. I was able to just tell her a bit of thank you so much. It was just like a miracle to get hold of her this many years after all of that. So fast forward, I kept traveling every summer with Patty, even in college. In college, I went with our Just for Kids team. We did camps and VBSs all over the U.S. And I kept writing new scripts for her. We kept doing ministry wherever we went. And I took my first full-time children's pastorate at Christian Life Center in Minnesota, in Farmington, Minnesota. Then I was at Faith Assembly in Chisago City. I was 7 years at Praise Fellowship in Sheboygan. Wonderful church. We had a great time there. And then I was 3 years Christian Life Center in Dayton, Ohio. And then I wrote my books, and I've been traveling and speaking with my books, and Patty's gone even more places than I had ever imagined. She'll be in California here in a couple weeks. I look tired because we finally finished, oh boy, our 4th VBS, but it was a lot this summer. We had a lot of fun. I never imagined how many places God would bring her. And 30 years, my goodness. When we were in Sheboygan, I remember when we left there, a couple of the board members said, "Well, we'll take your resignation, but Patty stays here." I was like, I don't know how that's going to work. Patty was always a favorite with my grandfather. When I'd visit my grandfather, who was also a pastor, he'd say, "Where's that doll? Go get that doll. I love that doll." Yeah, so I'd have to go get Patty. Every time I worked with her, I think I got better at it. Once I had the puppet, the voice and the personality began to just pop out. My mother said that at first, people weren't as interested in Patty because she was very sweet and kind and naive. And she said, no, you need to have Patty be like you were as a child. So like, oh, thanks, Mom. So she became more snarky and funny. But I've had kids say they can relate to Patty. She thinks like they do. She thinks like a 3rd grader. She reacts like a 3rd grader. And they love watching Patty respond to the things that they go through. She's not having fun in 3rd grade. She's struggling with her math. She feels like a teacher's being unfair. How does she deal with that? Patty relates to these kids. They can relate to her a whole lot better than they can relate to a 45-year-old with 2 adult kids. Patty's been invaluable. Once I had her, then the voice and the character came much easier. She's had a lot of hardship in her life. You know, she's been in a lot of suitcases, through a lot of customs. One time, I think I was still in Minnesota at this point, she was backstage and somehow this little 3-year-old got back there. I don't remember how, but she ripped off one of Patty's eyes and got on her face with a marker before we caught her. and pulled part of the hair off. So she had to have surgery. We repaired her hair and glued the eye back the way it was supposed to be, and thankfully that washed off of her face. When I was in Sheboygan, I'd already had Patty 15 years at that point, and she was starting to show some wear and tear, and I was really grateful for Kim Stryzik, the church's administrative assistant. She gave Patty a hair transplant. It was a total wig replacement, and that's what's still on her to this day. I'm sure she'll have to have another one at some point. And then poor Patty, I was 5-6 months pregnant with my daughter. We were speaking at the Kalahari Resort. I say we, me and Patty. We were speaking at the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells at Kids Blast. And I was really too warm that day. I was just too warm. I think it's part of it being very pregnant, but I was just very warm. And I did all of the ministry stuff that we were doing there, and I said, I gotta lay down, I don't feel good. And the students and our workers said, it's okay, you just go lay down in the van and we'll load everything. You shouldn't lift anything, which that's true. When I was that pregnant, they said, you shouldn't lift anything, we'll grab it, you lay down. So we get back and I realize there's no Patty. So Patty was still back at the Kalahari Resort. So I think, all right, this is not good, but I'll call. And we call, and back then, I don't know if they still have this policy or not, but you can't come get your stuff. If you leave it there, it's gone. They either give it away to charity or sell it. They have sales periodically from time to time, or it goes in the incinerator. And they said probably that went into the incinerator. Sorry. I begged, I pleaded, I said, can I just come look in there? Nope. It goes in the incinerator. Sorry, we can't help you. I talked to managers. This was their strict policy at the time. And I knew that was their policy because we had another girl that had a brand new swimsuit. It was one of the kids that came to Kids Blast. She left it there and she could not get it back. They said, nope, sorry. What's left here gets sold or given to charity or incinerator. Sorry. Her mother was really mad about that one. To this day, I have to thank Pete and Lisa Gorget. Pete, I don't know if he still is, but at the time was a Sheboygan police officer. And he and his wife went to the Kalahari and literally stood outside the door there where they keep all this stuff until they finally broke down and they opened the door and let him look, and he got Patty's bag and brought her back to me. It was like a God thing because I was racking my brain thinking, what do I do? Just you can't say to the kids, Patty died. No, or Patty went on a vacation forever. And I couldn't say, oh, I'll get a makeover. I guess that might have been what I did. I was trying at that point to track down the woman that originally made her so I could get a replacement, but at the time I wasn't able to find her. I was later on, but that was just a God thing to finally have her back and in one piece and not go in the incinerator. Is that not wild? But Patty's story continues to go on because I take her everywhere I go and we do ministry together. We did a girls' camp this summer. And I think sometimes when I'm up there with Patty, people are still getting called into ministry to do things for God because of Patty. And I just want to encourage you to use those loaves and fishes like that lady did. That's part of why I'm passionate about using young people in ministry. So Kim, if you're watching this, she still has the hair you put on her. About 15 years ago, and her eyes have lasted very well, I would say. This was an outfit my sister bought for her, a little kid's outfit. She wears like a size 2T. So I am grateful for Ministry Tool of Patty, and that is the ongoing history of Patty. Her better half. I wouldn't say better half.
I want to see sing.
Oh, Patty, come on. No, 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 no.
Yes, you said, I'm going to be on American Idol. You're holding me back.
I'm not holding you back. Okay, close us out with a really happy song. Make it happy.
Little song about living with Pastor Tish.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Nobody knows
Oh, come on.
the trouble I see. Nobody knows my sorrow.
That is not true. She's lying. Shh.
Nobody knows the trouble I see. Ah! Don't talk to me. Nobody knows that Jesus, second thirst, Satan has the thirst.
Okay, no. All right, can you say bye to everybody watching?
Bye to everyone watching.
Okay, that's not very nice.
Call Puppet Services. She keeps me in a bag.
Okay. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next week on the Peach Buzz. We're going to talk about how to publish your Kindle book.
Boring. More Patty.
Okay, that's what you say.
She keeps me in a bag.
And she loves it. Don't listen to her.
Ow!
Oh my. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week on the Peach Buzz.
Ow!